holy and I'm not living right. But at the beginning of the day, look in the mirror and say, I am somebody. Oh, well, I believe the future's in my hand. And I tell every boy, girl, woman, and man, if I can think it, I can believe it, create it and achieve it. So I am somebody. Oh, I am somebody. Oh, I am.
Quarter before the hour, 866-99 Sirius. We would have been joined by Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett to give us an update on the Virgin Islands. We may yet be joined by her. So stay tuned. As soon as she joins us, we'll have her hop on the phone. But, of course, it is Monday morning, and as always, diligently, we're happy to be joined by the founder of the Rainbow Push Coalition, fresh from our Wall Street Project late last week. Wall Street Project Economic Summit, the 21st annual. Reverend Jackson, God bless you, man. Good morning. How you feel?
Good morning, Mark.
How's everything?
What stood out to me about that conference was the fact that 24% of all Americans make less than $15 a week, an hour, and 54% of all African Americans make less than 15, which means they're the working poor. You combine that with taking away their health insurance, which is the most expensive, unpredictable item. You add that to the school situation where the student debt continues to rise. It compounds the problem of poor people, and the gap between the very wealthy. 10% of Americans own 80% of the stock. Those are the two extremes, really.
Indeed. And we talked about the lack of stock and assets that the average middle class Americans have. It's very little.
10% own 80%.
Yeah.
So all the stock market discussion is flying right over most people's head. And then you add that to kind of stand out. And then the Super Bowl season where the 32 football teams, 0 owners black, baseball teams, 0 owners, basketball team 1. We're supplying to go from cotton balls to footballs and basketballs and baseball is something that's not a measure by IQ, but a measure of control.
You and I also talked, Reverend Jackson, about, this is Black History Month, and actually 2 days from now is Frederick Douglass's 200th birthday. You and I both spoke at the Wall Street Project and Economic Summit about the history of Wall Street itself and how the original commodity was enslaved people.
Well, the slave trade was America's #1 and first international trade. The shipping magnates were the richest people in America. The foundation money for Columbia and Princeton, Harvard, and Yale is from the shipping magnates, shipping people. And while they grew the cotton down here in Tennessee, Mississippi, and Arkansas, and they built it, the stock exchange was the commodity exchange was Wall Street. The biggest market, one of the big markets of trading of African Americans was New York.
Mm-hmm.
The first state to end slave trading legally was Vermont. That's how far north, and we think of it being just a southern phenomenon, but it went all the way there as well, you know. But New York is, and so the African burial ground takes on different meaning in Wall Street now because we were the center of cover, more valuable than the land, and banks, and the insurance company was the slave trade.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
256 years, I might add.
One of the big pieces when it comes to businesses, minority, and let me just reiterate, folks, what we talked about when you have this Wall Street Project, you talk about these issues. You talk about minority business owners, which includes women, minority and women in business. That's a common acronym, you'll see MBWE, MWBE, Minority and Women in Business Enterprise. There's a lack of an access to capital. There was a big announcement by Mayor de Blasio here in New York at the Wall Street project this week, wasn't it?
Setting up $60 million to make loans to small businesses. And that's just the beginning of it. It'll probably go higher. We want other mayors to join in that state, set aside and organize capital pools of money. Because businesses have the ideas, but they don't have the money. Sometimes we will have the idea, we can't get capital. Sometimes whites will have it, they get more money on the ideas, we get on collateral. So discrimination is a big factor in access to capital as well.
And that's just flat out discrimination too, isn't it, Reverend, that someone who's not a person of color or who's not a woman can literally walk into the bank with their idea and get that investment?
Well, the football league owners can say, well, we want you to have, we rent you a football license. You can take that license with a minimum amount of money. You go to the mayor and say, I'm going to bring to your town the NFL team.
Yeah.
And that you get a lot of land and tax deal. And you go to the bank and you borrow money based on letter of intent. And then you go to the advertisers and get another deal. You take a letter of intent and massage it to a whole stadium with a minimum amount of money because you had the inside track. That's why inheritance and access is more than hard work and effort.
Yeah. So beyond that, Reverend, what's next from your point of view in terms of the Wall Street project? How do we pick up from this weekend and push the ball forward?
As we move toward Dr. King's last mission in this 50th anniversary business, he talked about workers and wages and workers and wealth. We must now fight. $15 an hour, the minimum wage must be seen as reasonable since it's a poverty line. Also, the judge banks by investing in lending as the basis for judging banks, investing in lending.
Investing in lending. Just one other point I wanted to bring up, the statistic you always share about, a lot of these franchise opportunities, particularly car dealerships. How many car dealerships and how many do we have?
Like 19,000 dealerships. We have less than 300 now. We had 900 before the recession struck. We never recovered from the recovery.
There were how many before the recession?
About 900.
And it's down to 300 now. And these
and the precondition was bailout was not to include us. It makes it very clear that in our share dealerships because of internal business, the dealerships did not make it a leverage point. It is not share dealerships back.
Right. Rev Jesse Jackson with us, rainbowpush.org, rainbowpushwallstreetproject.org to keep up with everything that is going on there.
What can help us, people who are listening today who want to help us continue, I'm in Memphis, they're prepared.
We're losing you a little bit, Reverend. Hey, we can't hear you. Say that again, please.
I'm going to Lane College today in Tennessee and Russ in Mississippi.
Okay.
And then Tennessee State will make it ready for the April 4th event here. But more than that, there are 4 million blacks in 11 southern states unregistered, 4 million, and 2.2 million who were registered who did not vote. So to inspire the southern black vote is the key to the kingdom.
Yeah.
So Virginia, Alabama, 4 million unregistered, 2.2 million who registered who did not vote. That's key. I want people to listen to me who believe in what we're doing. We need your support. Please contact me at www.rainbowpush.org, www.rainbowpush.org. We need your support, please.
No living individual has registered more voters as an individual than Reverend Jesse Jackson. Folks, rainbowpush.org. Reverend, enjoy your day, and we will talk to you next week, okay?
Love you, Mark.
All right. Take care now. All right, folks, we'll take a break. This is MIP.